Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Kia ora, Bolt fam. It's the director. Chargers fans, you guys been wondering where I'm at. Little under the weather. Still kind of am, but I figured I got too much I need to talk about, man. Too much we need to go over with the Chargers. We're going to give it a shot today. Our top 10 breakout Chargers for 2022. This is where things get really interesting, man. The offseason in which we get to start looking at what the Chargers have done in terms of additions and see how we think it's going to play out in the actual season in 2022. This team has taken some dramatic shifts this offseason, right? Which is an appropriate way of saying, holy shit, look at this roster. I think it goes without saying we are all hyped out of our freaking minds for the potential that this team carries into this upcoming season. And you know what? It's absolutely justified. This may be the biggest season in terms of potential that we've seen since the days of LaDainian Tomlinson. It is absolutely mind-bogglingly huge, okay? But the situation not only speaks well for the new players coming onto the team, you know, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, and the massive wave of other new players that are going to ball out in L.A., but it also will have a rippling effect throughout the roster, okay? And this bodes very, very well for other players in terms of what they can do in improving their game because of the presence of these new players. It'll make a lot of sense when we get into it, guys. So in today's video, we're going to analyze this butterfly effect and see who I think carries the most potential to break out in the 2022 season with this dramatic addition of star talent. It should be a good one. Before we do get started, guys, question in the comments. Who's your guy, right? Is there a player that you think takes a big leap in 2022, whether it be because of the additions we made or otherwise? Let me know in the comment section below. Before we do kick off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. My top 10 breakout Chargers for the 2022 season. Who do I think is going to be taking that next big leap into making a difference on this team? Let's go ahead and jump right into it. At player number 10, we're going to go from 10 all the way up to number 1. Braden Feyoko, right? And this, again, there's going to be a slew of different kinds of players all over this list, but this is also the kinds of players I want the Bolt fam to keep their eye on, right? Braden Feyoko, this dude's an absolute beast, man. And the Chargers have just been so talented in picking up undrafted free agents, guys, you know, off the street and turning them into very, very valuable pieces of their teams. And in the terms of the Chargers defense, I feel like Feyoko is one of those hidden gems that the Chargers likely stumbled on and discovered last season and are likely planning on getting him more involved this season. This dude posted the #1 run stopping rate for defensive tackles in 2021. Braden Feyoko. And you know what? It speaks a lot for a team that definitely struggled versus the run last season. And again, this is why I was so perplexed last season as to why we didn't deploy him more. The Chargers, I think, ended up at the end of the season with the 3rd worst run defense in the league. Why not deploy the league's best run-stopping defensive tackle a little bit more often? Now, sure, those stats would probably get skewed a little bit with more snaps. Of course, that's going to happen. But at the same time, I think it's very proven that Feyoko has the moxie to go out there and slow down the running attack of opposing teams. So I feel like Braden Feyoko is better understood going into this season. I do think that he's earned more snaps for the 2022 Chargers, which again, this line has been revamped. We've got Sebastian Joseph Day and Austin Johnson. I do think there's an opportunity for Braden Feyoko to go out there and maybe earn the nose tackle position, at least in terms of, you know, rotational snaps. I feel like getting Feyoko on the field more often than not is going to help this team. And I do think that he is due for a really big jump this season, especially when considering the pieces that have been added around him. I think Feyoko has a solid chance at breaking out in the 2022 year. Next up at player number 9, we've got JT Woods, brand new addition to the team. I think we only have a couple of rookies on this list. Of course, we know Zion Johnson's going to be great. Of course, there's other players that we feel are going to have a big impact. JT Woods, selected in the 3rd round, kind of threw a lot of us for a loop, right? We're like, wait. There's other players that we feel like maybe might be more impactful at bigger positions of need. But at the same time, JT Woods, there's a reason why Brandon Staley wanted this dude so badly. And I do think it is going to pay dividends in his rookie season. And it's very tricky to kind of, stout, what JT Woods is going to do this season. Because, rookies take time and he's not perfect. He does struggle in terms of, coverage sometimes, tackling sometimes. But he has a lot of pieces to become an immediate impact in 2022. And I do think it comes down to scheme for me, at least, right? The Brandon Staley scheme. He's going to require a lot of his defensive backs. Of course, we talked a lot about the limited use of linebackers this season. I think that's a big reason why JT Woods was selected in the first place. Because, again, he's not anywhere near the player in terms of talent, but you could also, talk about him as maybe a Derwin James 2.0. Not in terms of talent, again, but in terms of what you can do with him. I feel like JT Woods definitely has what it takes to man, the safety position while Derwin James is in the box, and vice versa even. Maybe we do see a little less of JT Woods because he does need to improve his tackling, but I don't see any reason why not to if you do have some nice safeties behind Derwin James and Nasir Adderley to deploy. I think it really just comes down to flexibility for me, right? I think JT Woods, Derwin James, you're going to see a lot of these guys at the same time because one of them is going to be in the box, more likely being Derwin James. We just need to make sure we have that size, that speed, that playmaking ability out there at the same time while one of them is in the box. So I think he offers a lot of that, and I feel like JT Woods, even though being a 3rd round pick, a rookie talent, I think we're going to see more snaps for him than initially thought. This doesn't mean he's going to go out there and be like, one of the permanent, adds to this defense all the time. It just means that JT Woods, in my opinion, has a good shot at breaking out because he really does work with the scheme that Brandon Staley's trying to implement this season. Now here comes player number 8. Everybody hold on to your hats, okay? Because I know it's going to be a pick that's a bit controversial, a pick that's probably going to make some people uncomfortable, but we're going to go ahead and give it to Trey Pipkins. And I get it, okay? Pip has a long way to go before earning our trust as the Chargers starting right tackle. Myself included, dudes. I'm not super comfortable with the thought of Trey Pipkins going out there and protecting Justin Herbert. But you know what? He did show up in 2021. I think I was looking for free agent right tackles that the Chargers could still go out there and try and get. And when looking at these guys and comparing them to Trey Pipkins, let's say in terms of their PFF score, it's kind of perplexing because Trey Pipkins, I think he put up a score of close to 80 in pass pro and something like 68 or 69 in run blocking. That's honestly on par or a lot better than some of the free agents that we'd be able to find out there. And I do think that does speak to how decent he looked in 2021 when asked to protect Justin Herbert. So maybe, just maybe, Trey Pipkins has taken a leap that behind the scenes, the Chargers understand, where, in front of the curtain, Chargers fans may not understand, myself included. Again, not super comfortable with the thought, but at the same time, I'm open to seeing what could happen. I don't know the situation with Filer. I know that we've been talking a lot about moving him to right tackle and then inserting, Sawyer or Brendan Hymus, at that guard position. But at the same time, man, Pip might be the guy for the Chargers, and they might know things that we do not. The last thing I did want to point out in terms of Trey Pipkins potentially earning the spot is that right tackle, yes, very important. It's not as important as left tackle because, again, pretty obvious reasons. Quarterback can't see the left side. He can't see the right side. I think Pipkins just might work, okay? He doesn't have to be a superstar. He just has to be decent. And what he showed me last season was decent. So if the Chargers' plan is to roll out with Pipkins, heck, I'm sure they're saying, we got to see who earns the job on the right side. Maybe they do bring in a veteran right tackle. Either way, I think if Pipkins gets the opportunity, he might just show the Chargers and its fans that Herb might be safe in his hands, if that makes sense. Okay, so Trey Pipkins going to be my pick number 8. Here at player number 7, we're going to go with another possibly controversial name here in Kenneth Murray, former first-round pick of the Chargers. Now I get it again. Murray, kind of a letdown last season. I totally get that. But something that we don't talk often enough about is the circumstances revolving around his 2021 season. Okay, the circumstances, in my opinion, played a very big part on the fall off of Kenneth Murray, because we have to remember, in his rookie season, he led the Chargers in tackling. He looked like the real deal. Chargers fans going into his second year were very excited to see the leaps and bounds that he could make in his second year in the pros. And lo and behold, that didn't happen. Now, again, I think circumstances played a really big part in this. A thing that I don't know if I just missed it. It's kind of hard to think about, it not being on my radar last offseason. But a big thing that did happen in terms of the person Kenneth Murray in 2021 was the passing away of his brother. And I think this happened sometime in the offseason last year. And of course, that is going to carry some serious mental and emotional damage, right? And it's bigger than the game of football. I get that. But if we're looking at football in terms of, what happened to Kenneth Murray, why did he fall off? I think that's a really big reason for it. And I hurt for the guy. That's something that's tough. I've got a brother myself, probably my best friend in the world. And to think about that is very troubling. So I feel bad for Kenneth Murray, and I understand that last season must have been really, really tough for him. But, on the field itself, too, he also suffered a nagging ankle injury that supposedly hindered him the entire season as well. So you kind of look at the circumstances, you look at the player Kenneth Murray, and things just don't add up. So to me, I feel like in terms of football, Kenneth Murray, I think he's going to bounce back this season. Murray's a former first-round pick. He's lightning fast. He's got a big presence. He's a great tackler. He just needs to get a lot of work in improving his coverage a little bit. So I'm not ready to give up on Kenneth Murray. I think he's got the tools to really do something in this NFL league, and I do feel like circumstances hinder him last season. I think he's ready for a bounce back this year. So I'm not ready to give up on K9 Kenneth Murray. I think he makes his comeback in 2022. Here at pick number 6 for the director in the top 10 breakout players, we have another rookie in Isaiah Spiller. I just put out a video a couple of days ago. I should say like a week ago on Isaiah Spiller, so I'm not going to get too deep into this. If you guys want more details, definitely check that out in our videos a couple weeks ago. But Isaiah Spiller at number 6, I'm very high on him, okay? And I get it. Some people are very soft on Isaiah Spiller. He is a rookie. There's a lot of things to be concerned about. I get that, but I might be the highest that I've seen on the web for Isaiah Spiller and his potential in his rookie season. I feel like this dude's just going to come out here and do things that the Chargers desperately needed, and I think that he's going to do them at a very high level, and I see a lot of potential in even his first year with the Chargers, so much so that I put him number 6 on a breakout list for this video today. Now, Spiller, in my opinion, he's coming from a very rough situation in terms of his offensive line in Texas A&M to one of the best situations with one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. I think that already proves to me that Spiller is going to have a good time in the NFL and give himself a little bit of an advantage in terms of his production. But the biggest reason that I think Isaiah Spiller is going to have a great year in 2022 is the situation the Chargers were in before the draft and the situation they're in now after the draft. The Chargers were so desperate to find Isaiah Spiller. Austin Eckler is an established superstar running back. We want to keep him healthy. We want a guy to rotate in with him, and a guy that not only can rotate, but can also do what Austin Eckler cannot do. And Eckler, again, our unquestioned running back one. He's scored 20 touchdowns last season, for the love of all that's holy. But at the same time, he's just not the biggest dude. He's pure muscle, but he's not the biggest dude. Isaiah Spiller, 6 foot, 220 pounds, going to be serving maybe that, bruising back role for the Chargers, short yardage situations. We needed help in those stats. And I think Isaiah Spiller is just the kind of guy that you want to bring in to provide that. And I think, again, behind this offensive line, with the high-powered offense that the Chargers already have, I think Spiller might turn some heads even by the midpoint part of the season this year. I think Spiller is going to be a great addition to this team, and he's going to prove it early on in 2022. Next up, moving into our top 5 players that will break out in 2022, we've got Asante Samuel Jr. It was really tough for me to include Asante because I feel like he kind of did break out last season. When he was on the field, the dude was amazing, especially in terms of generating turnovers. And again, off to a great start last year, but his year was derailed by back-to-back concussions. Man, that first one sucked, man. I was like, yes, finally, we got ourselves a huge, value in the second round. We got another cornerback for this team. Things are looking good. The first concussion was hard to stomach. The second concussion, that's where you get a little bit worried about the individual, the person, Asante Samuel, because back-to-back concussions, we've seen what that can do to guys like even Joey Bosa. And Brandon Staley wisely pulled him back for a while, which kind of limited what he could do in 2021, right? 2022, however, is a different story. There's no denying he's an impressive talent, and I think we're going to get to see more of that this season. But the biggest reason why he's included on my breakouts list is because of what the Chargers did this offseason in terms of additional help at the defensive back position. We got JT Woods, obviously. We got Bryce Callahan. We got JC Jackson. These guys are going to play a big role in Asante Samuel's year 2 leap, in my opinion. It's going to keep Asante Samuel Jr. moving around. Of course, we know Brandon Staley likes to keep his defensive backs flexible. We're going to see a lot more of these guys all over the field in terms of limiting our linebackers. It's going to be pretty crazy for Asante Samuel. He's a turnover machine. He's great in coverage, particularly in man coverage, which I've talked a lot about in the past. I think the Chargers want to run more man, and that's exactly where Asante Samuel does excel. The opportunities will be there for him, especially, again, in terms of generating picks and turnovers because of the addition of Khalil Mack. Now we should see an improved Joey Bosa. All things considered, man, Asante Samuel Jr., in my opinion, is looking at a very nice year 2 opportunity with the Chargers. So ASJ, man, I think he's going to have himself a stellar year, one that Chargers fans will be very excited about. Here at player number 4, Jalen Guyton. I know a lot of Chargers fans wanted to add another speedster to the roster, right? And I still kind of do, right? But without another speedster on the team, this might mean more targets for our established speedster on the roster in Jalen Guyton. And it kind of feels like the Chargers, in terms of their wide receivers, everybody's just a little bit different, right? You got Keenan Allen, the chain mover, Mike Williams, the spectacular catch wide receiver. You got Jalen Guyton, the speedster, and then Joshua Palmer, kind of the hybrid. I like what Jalen Guyton can provide, right, in terms of his versatility or what he does different than the other wide receivers. Because Guyton, especially in, let's say, in 2020 in Justin Herbert's rookie year, he proved that he could provide Herbert with an open, deep target. And that's one of the biggest things that I want on this team that, is utilized every week. I want the Chargers to take advantage of the huge arm that their quarterback has. Not very many quarterbacks in the league have a talent like that, a natural gift like that. And Jalen Guyton, to me, is the guy on the roster that can provide the target for Justin Herbert to flex on these defenses with that huge arm. Additionally, I feel like the improvements to our offensive line should provide more time for these looks and these opportunities for Jalen Guyton and Justin Herbert. It just feels like this team is moving in the right direction. Jalen Guyton individually as a player has shown improvement every single season, and as of right now, he's our deep threat dude. And I feel like he can get the job done. The Chargers' improvements to our power run should also open up more opportunities for play action. Guys, Isaiah Spiller, Xander Horvath, the offensive line. Chargers want to run the ball, and they want to improve in that terms of power run as well. Again, play action is going to play a big role in Jalen Guyton's performance in 2022, and I feel like he's due for probably an increase in snaps and opportunities as well. So he should be a pretty fun one to watch this upcoming season. Now, before we do move on, guys, I do want want to include a couple of honorable mentions, just because, again, we're going to see in the comment section, like, director, how could you not include so-and-so or this guy or that guy? Well, it's because, you know, maybe they're more established than what I think deserves to be on this list. So my honorable mentions will start with, like, the established stars, Herbert, Eckler, J.C. Jackson. You know, these guys, to me, it's really obvious that they're going to have a really good year. You know, Eckler's going to have an improved offensive line, an RB2 to help carry the load. Herbert's going to have more time in the pocket. There's a lot of things to like from the established stars, okay? My other honorable mention is going to come by Nasir Adderley, who I think, again, the Chargers' defensive backs have improved so much in terms of talent. Nasir Adderley, known for his playmaking ability, he's going to get opportunities for that. I think he's going to have a nice bounce or a nice follow-up this season and really provide some value there at the safety position. And then finally, one that I did not want to go through this list without mentioning was Xander Horvath, man. Xander Horvath, the Chargers and fullbacks haven't been the best of friends in a long time, but I feel like Horvath might be an exception here, right? Oftentimes in the modern NFL, we've seen a lot of tight ends play, you know, what your traditional fullback would play. I think the Chargers are kind of doing that with a halfback right now. I think the Chargers grabbed themselves one of the best thumper running backs in the draft, and they're deploying him at fullback. I don't know how the dude's going to do in terms of run blocking, but he's huge, like 6'3", decent. Obviously, the dude's going to get some, you know, goal line carries. He's going to get some opportunities with short yards, just like we talked about with Isaiah Spiller. But I don't know, man. I just got a feeling about Xander Horvath. I want to get to that vibe with the Chargers run game where we do have a fullback. We got a lead. We got, you know, Isaiah Spiller. We got Austin Eckler. I feel like Horvath could find a nice role with this team in 2022. So that's just me. Maybe we'll do another video on Horvath and the power run a little bit later into the offseason, because I have a lot of things I want to talk about with him. Now back to the list. At number 3, we are going to list here Gerald Everett, the brand new tight end for this team. Did we list a lot of new names other than the rookies? No, this will be the first free agent that we're going to put on this list, Gerald Everett, the tight end. Now, Everett, to me, he's been pretty solid with his previous teams, right? Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams. But truthfully, if you really look at his career so far, he's never had a quarterback like Justin Herbert. Okay, yes, last season he played with the Seattle Seahawks, but you could almost say that last season was without a doubt the worst season for Russell Wilson. He did not look like the Russell Wilson of old. We're all crossing our fingers that that translates to the Denver Broncos, but I rest my case there. Before that, he missed the Matt Stafford opportunity as far as quarterbacks with the Los Angeles Rams. He was playing with Jared Goff. I feel like this elevated talent in quarterback is going to benefit Gerald Everett a lot. And you know what? Justin Herbert loves his tight ends. And Everett, in my opinion, will provide a valuable weapon early on in the season. If you look at even Jared Cook last season, which again, solid player, probably on the older side and not what we consider a superstar. Cook even last season got 8 targets in week 1. Justin Herbert just loves that tight end position. And I think for the first time in a while, Justin Herbert's going to have himself a very, very nice, dependable tight end to target right away in the season. I think we're going to see a lot of chemistry established between Everett and Herb throughout the course of the 2022 year. And that's just in terms of his opportunity. I think that the player in Gerald Everett may be one of the better tight ends that we've had in a minute, maybe since Hunter Henry, because again of his physical presence and his after the catch ability. Those yak yards, man, should help Everett make the most of every single one of these opportunities. I think when I checked his stats, he had never eclipsed 500 yards. I think with Justin Herbert, with this offense and the kind of tight end that he is, I think he goes for 700 plus this year and a nice handful of touchdowns. Look for Gerald Everett to get involved very early this season, and look for his ability to generate yards after the catch is something that Justin Herbert will really, really appreciate. As he gets to trust Gerald Everett a little bit more in those situations, maybe we see more, short, passes to Gerald Everett on like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, where you're like, you're going to try and hit those sticks. Maybe we do trust Gerald Everett to generate more yards after the catch with his physical presence to get those first downs. Maybe we do trust him and Mike Williams in the red zone to come down with those touchdowns. I like Gerald Everett a lot, the player, and I think he landed in the perfect situation to make the most of his abilities and his skill set. Next up, as we're getting into the top 3, who's my number 2 player this season? Can you guys guess it in the comment section? I think a lot of people know where I'm going with this. It's going to be Josh Palmer. 3rd round Chargers wide receiver turns into a superstar. Stop me if you've heard this one before, right? I think a lot of us lived that for the first time with Keenan Allen. Josh Palmer, dude, this dude looked clutch in several games last season, man. Some big situations, trying to convert 3rd downs, coming up with some pretty impressive touchdowns as well in coverage, contested catches. It feels like this dude just kind of did it all last season. And in my mind, he's earned more playing time in 2022. With the Chargers not adding another wide receiver, I think it does speak to their views on the Palmer and Guyton combo. Because, of course, we did list Jalen Guyton as a breakout this season. I do think the Chargers wide receiver 3 role is going to be, kind of flipped around with Palmer and Guyton throughout the course of the season. When you need the speed, it's Guyton's turn. When you need the conversion, the yards, the drive, it's going to be Palmer's turn. And I do think in terms of talent, in terms of utilization, I saw a lot of upside in terms of what he provided last year to what he can bring this year, because I feel like for the most part, rookies in their first season, in their rookie season, I think the biggest objective for the team is to understand what they have, because a lot of things in terms of, decision making and plays, it's risk and reward. And you want to see, how much of risk and reward you're getting in these new players coming into the league. I think Josh Palmer really did prove last season that his risk reward ratio is more in the terms of reward. This dude is just great, man. He's not a burner by any means, but the guy has the crispest routes, man. He's got superb hands. He reminds me a lot of Keenan Allen in those aspects. Not as good, obviously, because Keenan one of the greats, but he carries a lot of those traits, right? And he also reminds me a little bit of Mike Williams in terms of those contested catches. It just feels like he's the perfect sort of hybrid for the Chargers wide receiver 3 position. And I feel like he's going to get a lot of opportunity this season to really break out and show what he's got. If I had to guess, I think Josh Palmer maybe goes for 500-600 yards this season, and there's going to be some big plays in between there, man. So Josh Palmer, super excited to see what he can come in his second year with. And finally, at number 1, the most potential to break out this season, who do I have? Kind of not controversial, but kind of, contradicting, I should say, because I said the superstars in the honorable mentions. It's going to be Joey Bosa, who is already, it's broken out, right? One of the best pass rushers in the entire league. But in my opinion, and arguably, nobody on this roster got more help on this team than Joey freaking Bosa, which is super excited to think about because of how good he already is. Improving the defensive line is going to be a big part of that, right? We got Sebastian Joseph Day, we got Austin Johnson. These dudes, we know, are going to be eating up a ton of space. And for a player like Joey Bosa, that just means more one-on-one opportunity, which more often than not, Bosa's going to win those. And of course, this is the biggest thing we've been talking about for a couple of years now. Let's free Bosa. Hashtag free Bosa. We've got to give him the opportunities for those one-on-ones. Because more often than not, over the past few seasons now, it seems almost every single week, Bosa's got 2-3 linemen on him. It feels super unfair. And it also feels like a big underutilization of resources because, Joey Bosa, over $100 million man on the roster, we're just watching that get double and triple teamed every week. We want to make the most of the opportunity that we have with Joey Bosa right now. And the Chargers delivered. Improved defensive line, Austin Johnson, Sebastian Joseph Day, that's going to be a big help to him. But outside of that, man, probably the biggest move the Chargers made this offseason, Khalil Mack. This is the biggest signing I've seen in a long time for the Chargers. And it helps our existing superstar in Joey Bosa by quite a bit. Bosa's best year with the Chargers came in 2017, where he posted 12.5 sacks. Now, additionally, this was also Melvin Ingram's best year, posting 10.5 sacks. Is that a coincidence? I think not. This to me proves that when Joey Bosa has a capable edge rusher opposite him, that he's going to get more opportunities to get to the quarterback, and he makes the most of those opportunities. I think it just makes so much sense, right? I think it's very clear and easy to understand. When you got another player like Khalil Mack opposite Joey Bosa, he's going to demand a lot of attention as well, right? When you've got all these space eaters in the middle, those guys are going to demand a lot of attention. This is just going to give Joey Bosa more often than not opportunities for one-on-ones or just running butt naked free at the quarterback. And that is so excited to think about. I wouldn't be shocked if Bosa puts up a new career high this season. This is why he's my number one. I think in my bones, I'm feeling Joey Bosa post 14.5 sacks, maybe even more, just because of the opportunity that Brandon Staley has provided him this season by improving that defensive line and getting him a monster edge rusher opposite him for 2022. So my bottom line in this video, man, and congratulations, Joey Bosa, number one. He's going to have a big season. I'm so excited to see how he plays. My bottom line here, we are all justifiably pumped for J.C. Jackson, Khalil Mack, and all the other incredible talent that we've added this offseason, right? But what's more insane to me is that we already had a roster loaded with young talent. Bosa, Derwin, Herbert, Eckler, everyone is going to benefit greatly from what these guys are going to provide in the free agents and in the rookies. This feels like an aggressive leap towards the Super Bowl and playoff contention, et cetera, et cetera. The Chargers just flipped themselves into one of the more lethal teams in the NFL. Now, lastly, I did want to highlight, before we move on from here, I did want to highlight Herbert as perhaps the biggest winner not included on this list in terms of numbers. Because, again, we struck gold with Justin Herbert, and man, did this dude get so much help this offseason. The Chargers are doing everything they can to build around him. This offensive line looks stellar, maybe outside of right tackle. And even that could look really good this offseason. He's got weapons. He's got a running attack. But the biggest thing the Chargers did this offseason was buying this man a defense. I think I put out a video like a couple months ago with that exact title, how the Chargers can buy an elite defense. We went out there and we did it. This is massive. We asked so much of Justin Herbert the last few years, right? Go out there and win this game. Put this team on your back. You know what? There's still going to be moments like that, right? But definitely not as many. This defense is going to keep the score manageable for Justin Herbert to do his thing. And this is simply what you're supposed to do when you hit on a young superstar quarterback. So bravo to the Chargers in recognizing this and executing at the highest level. Justin Herbert will continue to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and this defense is going to give him every opportunity just to simply win more games, get to the Super Bowl, get to the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be a really good time. So in the comment section below, guys, let me know your breakout players for the Chargers in 2022. We might do a follow-up video to this a little bit closer to kickoff as we see things, establish themselves in camp. It should be a good time. Also, guys, let me know what you guys think of our newest interview. I think I posted a link in the community section of the YouTube channel. I did an interview with the Chargers Chat, or the Charger Chat podcast last week that was just posted this morning. Definitely go check that out. Those guys are all the good vibes, man. We talked a lot about free agency, rookies, and the upcoming hype for the 2022 season. It's a really good time. Definitely make sure you guys go check that out. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. I'll work on myself these next few days on getting better. I'm sure, there's signs of recovery. But we'll be back later this week with another follow-up video. And again, hard at work on the hype trailer. That should be coming out very soon. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, man, it is time to feast.